Due to more bad Xbox news, we're having to release this segment from tomorrow's podcast early to put you into context with our thoughts of Microsoft's ongoing issues.
Like and subscribe.
It was that Indiana Jones announcement that really left a sour taste in the mouth. And for those that don't know, or basically, Indiana Jones was debuted for Xbox. We were super excited about it. I mean, personally, I would have took a third-person view on it, but it's first-person. But that's not where the animosity is driven from. It's down to the fact that we've obviously started to see games move over from the Xbox library onto PlayStation. It all kicked off around about April this year. And now we've found that Indiana Jones is not going to be finding its way onto PlayStation in 2026. Not going to be finding its way onto PlayStation in summer of 2025. It's going to be finding its way onto PlayStation in March of 2025, when the game comes out early December on Xbox. This isn't even a 6-month exclusivity window. This is what agitates me the most. Give yourself 12 months or something like that, which maybe might not even be long enough to make people consider, dipping into Xbox hardware. But for something that's not even 4 months is crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
I think the real slap in the face is that this is one of the big IPs that Xbox fans have been waiting for. This and Starfield was a bit of a disappointment to many on launch. So we kind of thought, okay, well, maybe Indiana Jones will be that pick-me-upper. And it looks great. It's from a very reputable developer, the Machine Games, who have made the Wolfenstein games. Very great playing games. But it's the fact that they announced the launch date for PlayStation at the same time as Xbox.
Yeah.
We're not, we've said it multiple times here. We try to be platform agnostic, but my primary is Xbox, as is yours. And if I put my Xbox gamer hat on, there isn't much left tying me to this platform anymore.
No.
If everything's going to eventually end up on PlayStation, do I need bespoke Xbox hardware anymore? Because all this is doing is alienating that crowd. A lot of people have moved over. A lot of people moved over in droves during the Xbox One launch with Don Matrick. And that's a name that seemingly still comes up till this day, 10 years later.
It will. I was literally on Friday night, I was going back through old Xbox press conferences, and it even feels like they've lost the edge.
Yeah.
Those early ones during the 360 era, they were really riding on the crest of a wave. And was it Barra there? Was within that team as well.
Yeah, Mikey Barra. Moji Nelson's gone.
Yeah, and it was just it was an edgy Xbox.
Peter Moore.
All of that's some of Peter Moore's. You watch
rolling
some
up
of
his
Peter Moore's
sleeves
stuff.
with the Halo announcement and then the Grand Theft Auto 4 exclusivity for like 6 months. Yeah.
His early stuff, by the way, with Xbox was a little, I don't know. It's not great.
But he left on a legacy.
Yeah,
He
definitely.
did. So, I mean, look, I get it. The industry's changing, We've got to make money somehow. And the only thing this makes sense for is Microsoft as a business or Xbox as a business. I get it. You want your games on as many platforms as possible so people play them, make money. Maybe they'll buy the microtransactions if there's any. And then we keep this thing of ours going, essentially.
Yeah.
But like I said, if I know that this is the way that Microsoft is now flexing their muscles, then come next gen, which is not far away, we're talking like we'll probably get an announcement in the next 12 months with a release, definitely in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I've said it on Twitter or X. I'm very close to making that dive all the way in to PlayStation. And the real kicker is PlayStation is down on its knees right now.
Oh, I know.
They could have used Indiana Jones as that kind of one more nail in the coffin before we give you that kill shot. Remember what you did to us 15 years ago? Right.
Oh.
Here's Starfield. Right now we got Indiana Jones. Watch what we do next. We got Gears of War. Do I
They
dare
had
say it?
an open goal here, and they've just
They did. They cocked it up like the England team.
yeah. Well, that wasn't just the only thing, because we've had Indiana Jones. We've also had a few other things, and I called this the quadrant of disappointment. So, not only is there a new twist in the Black Myth Wukong release that's been kicking around here, so we actually have Paul Tassi, who is a reporter at Forbes, suggesting that Sony did an under the cover deal that didn't involve marketing, but they did some under thing that said, you know, we'll if you release on us for an exclusive window, we're not going to go and include the marketing strategy behind it. But it was almost like behind scenes payment. I don't know. That's a really weird one, because we got told originally that this was going to be some memory leak issue or something to do with the parity between the S and the X. And there's been a new twist on that front. So Black Myth Wukong, which has probably been, at least this month, the most successful game to come out, is obviously absent from Xbox. Then, if you look at the whole MT framework with Capcom piece again...
If it is indeed MT framework.
Wow, this is the thing. So all we literally have is Jez Corden's word that Microsoft are working behind closed scenes with Capcom to resolve this issue. And my thing is, why? When you are seeing people wanting some answers on this, why aren't you even dedicating a sentence or two sentences on an Xbox Wire post just to...
I tell you why. I think you're right. The more I think about it, if this was something that was being fixed, they'd speak about it. Hey guys, we know that there's a need for X, Y, and Z. Right, and we're working on it. And if Xbox has done that in the past, we know we screwed up here, we're working on it, stay tuned. So people can go, oh, okay, it's coming on Xbox, I'm not going to waste my money buying it on multiple other platforms.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's not being spoken about just proves that you can't really put out an Xbox Wire post that says, hey guys, PlayStation got the exclusive rights, we're sorry. That's not how this works. So I kind of am leaning towards it, you know, because if we indeed saw the black, what's it called again? Black
Myth Wukong.
Black Myth Wukong. And we're talking 3 Capcom collections announced this year.
Yeah.
We're Marvel vs. Capcom collection, huge, if not arguably one of the biggest titles in the last 10 years. SVC Chaos, and the more recent Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which not only contains Power Stone 1 and 2, but Capcom vs. SNK 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Huge games here. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And it doesn't make... this is why I get so... It doesn't make sense to... Why would Microsoft have this situation where they'll talk to insiders to branch their message out, but yet at the same time, some of these sources have absolutely been bang on the money about these games going over to Xbox. It's like,
yeah,
what is going on with the comms team at Xbox? They need to call in brand strategists, the whole thing, because even having World of Warcraft on your stage at Gamescom, putting it under the Xbox banner, is another really stupid thing. I would say, would that even pass the sniff test of trading standards in my country? Because if someone sees World of Warcraft under the Xbox banner, I'll be like, oh, not a big PC fan, don't like having to mess around with optimization, all of this other stuff. World of Warcraft's coming to Xbox.
Yeah.
I'll buy an Xbox. I've been wanting to play this game for ages. I know it's probably down to its last ever DLC or whatever. The fact that they did that with, not only just that, they did it with another title. I think we even noticed it at their Xbox showcase that there was one game in there as well, which I can't remember which it was. I don't know if it was Flintlock or it was something. It wasn't that. It was something else. But that was PC only, and they bundled it into their showcase.
Yeah.
So you've got to separate the brand. If you clearly state it's for Game Pass for Windows, call it Game Pass for Windows. You don't have to have the Xbox brand identity around the PC gaming side of things. It confuses people. The names of the consoles are confusing enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just really frustrating to see just the lack of. We've seen so many gaffes. We saw the burn gaff from the comms team. We saw the issues around the Hellblade marketing absence. That magically, all of a sudden, there was a marketing plan. Not until people kicked off about it.
Yeah, Redfall.
And it's time and time and time again.
Yeah.
Someone needs to step in there and say, look, if you are doing social media and comms, you need to be aware of the psyche of the players. Or you need to be aware of what else is happening at the company and think about the optics and go, okay, if I post this out, well, maybe that's not good if I laid 1,000 people off today. Maybe I'll call it something else.
No, but
things like that.
This is where I'm a bit confused, because I want to say over the last year, maybe year and a half, on many fronts, the marketing or the messaging team, comms team, has improved. We've got Tina, I think her name's Tina Amini, and she's been kind of the brain behind the developer directs for the past 2 years. And a lot of the Xbox Wire posts and that whole communication strategy piece kind of falls under her now. She has made some amazing strides in the communications piece. The problem is, I don't think this is a communications issue anymore. I think this is a leadership issue. I think she's only going to be communicating what she's been told to communicate, ultimately. How they communicate it, I think, comes under her. But if Phil Spencer says, look, I don't care if you like it or not, Indiana Jones is going to PS5, figure out the best way we can soften the blow. Well, yeah. I still wouldn't agree that announcing the launch date at the same time as Xbox is the best way of going about it.
No.
But at the same time, I don't know what they were trying to go for with that.
Well, I really was it Xbox that ruled, that made the call on that, or
I don't know. I really don't know. But then I'm looking at I've got a graphic in front of me right now, and it's kind of all of the officially announced first-party games from both Xbox and PlayStation. And when I said earlier that PlayStation's on its knees, right? We've got 8 games that we know about in the PlayStation pipeline. Concord, which recently launched, has fallen flat on its face.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. We've got, it says Marathon here, but that's multi-plat, so I'm not going to include that. Until Dawn's a remake. Horizon Lego game, it's cool, but really, is that a first-party major hitter?
That's also on Switch as well.
Exactly. Other than that, what are the really big ones here? We've got Astrobot, which, believe it or not, this is actually going to be bigger than a lot of people think. Wolverine and Death Stranded 2. Okay, those are the 3 big ones that I'm seeing there. Xbox, we've got South of Midnight, Clockwork Revolution, Gears of War E-Day, Project Mara, Avowed Outer Worlds 2, Fable, State of Decay 3, Towerborn, which is another thing, Perfect Dark, Doom, Blade. I'm going to go as far as saying Blade's going to be the next on there. The next new IP that they announced a release date, that's going to be on both. It's going to be multi-plat.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me.
Because they didn't even have the balls to say exclusively on Xbox during Summer Game Fest.
Not once, yeah.
Not once. In terms of other games that will eventually make its way over, or again, Doom Dark Ages, we know that's going to be multi-plat. That's already been confirmed. Outer Worlds 2, I can see going over. I really can, because that was the first one was a multi-plat game. Contraband, I think, will be multi-plat, because I got a feeling that's going to be an online shooter, free to play. I'm not too sure. Elder Scrolls. Now, this is arguably going to be this is Xbox's next crown jewel. Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
Are Bethesda or Xbox going to do the right thing and keep this Windows and Xbox only? My bet is not.
They didn't with the Oblivion.
Well, let's dig deeper into
Sorry,
this.
they did with Oblivion. Skyrim, I mean.
There have been leaked emails around the time that the FTC case was wrapping up with Activision. And one of the emails was from Pete Hines or including Todd Howard. And they were talking amongst themselves, and this was when they said that Call of Duty was still going to be coming out on PlayStation. Pete Hines said to his team, it'd be nice if we were given the heads up. Why do our games only come out on Xbox? So there is internal turmoil to some degree there. And maybe after some conversations and this leaking and Xbox's new strategies make as much money as possible, I'm almost with 100% certainty saying that Elder Scrolls 6 will be multi-plat. Blade and Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I mean, given the track record of what's been happening in the last 12 months, 100%. And I was watching, just going back to the release of GTA 4. the Ballad of Gay Tony and the Liberty City Stories were exclusive to Xbox. Those days have gone, man. It's just...
That's when Xbox
I mean, when's
cared.
it going to do anything about that anymore?
Are you ready for new leadership? Do you think they need new leadership? Phil's done a lot of good for Xbox. He has. I'm not taking any of that away from him. But where is he heading?
Well, the big question I have is, does it matter what leadership comes in? Because if they're getting overruled, I mean, this is the one thing that we don't know is has there ever been friction in the background between the bigger parts of Microsoft? Have they allowed Xbox to run independently lately after that ABK deal? Because it's clear to me investors want return on the ABK deal. It's forced their hand. And do you know how I would have handled it? I would have been openly communicating to Xbox players and said, look, we paid a lot for the ABK deal. For the next 2 years, we're going to be throwing a bunch of our titles over on the PlayStation to help bring back some of those costs. But that's not our long-term strategy. Our long-term play will be to put more games exclusively on Xbox. But for the next few years, whilst we ride out this economic storm, it's going to be a little bit like that. But we know you guys want a reason to play on Xbox, and we will return that as our core focus. But right now, we just can't do that. Now, imagine if they did that. A lot of people would say, do you know what? I can grin and bear it for a couple of years. You know? And they probably would.
Well, you know who is doing that?
What, Sony?
PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly.
The best place to play our games is PlayStation.
Yeah.
But if you wait sort of 2 to 4 years, they will come out on PC. It's simple. We know it. If you're a PC gamer, you know it's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah,
you're
and
right.
if it's a multiplayer, heavy focus game, it comes day one.
Exactly. We know
which
that
makes sense.
Microsoft are not hemorrhaging money. They are the most, valuable company on earth. So is this a call by Satya? Is this an ABK return strategy? Because we knew during the court proceedings that they had to keep Call of Duty specifically, on PlayStation and other platforms for a minimum of 10 years. So that in itself could have paid for the ABK acquisition. None of this makes sense.
Tell you what isn't going to make sense. You wait until you hear this one.
Go on.
So, Xbox helped financially support the development of Kimitsugami for Capcom.
You mean in the same way
Multiplat.
that... Is it multiplat?
It's multiplat.
Oh, for God's sake! So when Sony did that, they got Street Fighter.
I mean, I'll
5
double check it,
exclusive.
but it was bringing up records that was.
So let me throw a curveball in here. This is what I don't understand. I'm going to put my simple Tim hat on, right? Okay. The economy's not great. People are struggling. Prices have risen because of inflation and all that. I get that. But for somebody on a budget, we have Game Pass. We've had Game Pass for a long time now. 5, 6, boring 7 years maybe. So you've got a really cheap and accessible way to, a route to entry into your ecosystem compared to Sony and Nintendo's offerings. Why would you not keep more games on Game Pass and keep that monthly subscription rolling? We all know that's the business model now. You buy a game for $70, you pay it once, and maybe you'll buy one in 6 months, maybe you won't.
Yeah.
But if you've bundled in Xbox Live into Game Pass like they have, then you're going to be paying that monthly fee regardless of whether you download games or not. None of this makes sense. Oh, we got to keep the business healthy. We've got to put our games on other platforms. No, grow Game Pass, for God's sake.
Yeah.
There's
that's
your
what they
money
could do. This is what I said a few episodes ago, didn't I?
It doesn't make sense.
They could have these games that are Game Pass exclusive. You can't get them. You can't even buy them in the store. They're Game Pass exclusive. The only way you can access them.
This is going to hurt them in the long run. There isn't going to be an Xbox. We know the next generation's not far off. That's confirmed. But after that, I don't see Xbox continuing, because we know that none of these holders make money off of the hardware. They're sold at an incredible, reduced rate. You can't get the equivalent spec of an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 for $500. You just cannot. people have tried on YouTube. You can Google it. It's nowhere near. So the value is tremendous. You get a great deal. But if I, as Xbox, have now become a third-party publisher, and you can buy all of our catalog on PlayStation or get Game Pass for PC, well, in Microsoft's eyes, we save money by not having to go down the R&D route of putting hardware out and going through all of that, and we still get to make a lot of games. I mean, it's worked incredibly well for Steam.
Yeah.
And Valve. Why would they not?
Yeah.
I don't know. None of this makes sense. None of it does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And look, I'm starting to think Team Dog was right, mate. Honestly. You know, he kicked off back in February and everyone thought, you know, you're being over the top here. Maybe you're just like clout chasing for something. The guy said that this is going to be happening more and more and more. He called it, he kind of put his name out there, took all of the abuse. Well, what's coming to fruition right now?
One thing, and that's the Indiana Jones announcement. Because you got to remember, even when this happened beginning of the year and everyone started jumping ship, Phil Spencer specifically said we're putting 4 games on there. He was asked by Tina Amini, are any of those games Starfield or Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Phil Spencer said, I can confirm it's not Starfield and Indiana Jones.
But was that for the first 4?
That's the debate.
Right.
So that's exact. So a lot of people are calling Phil a liar. He knew what he was doing. He's a CEO. He did this whole spin on the media. And other people are saying, as a CEO, you should know exactly how that would have been taken, regardless of what your intentions were or may have been. You know that people are going to hold that. You know once shit's on the internet, it's going to live forever.
Yeah.
So, whether he intended for it to be only for the first 4 or not, I'm still holding his feet to the fire.
Yeah.
You I don't know.
I mean, I would put a question mark against it personally.
Because you go from, we're putting 4 games that have been out for a minimum a year. This was his criteria.
He said we would review how those perform in terms of what we want to do next steps.
Yeah.
So that's something that we do know that he said.
But he also said it's got to be out for a minimum of a year. The gamer sort of interaction is sort of decreasing, less and less people are playing it. From that perspective, it makes sense. You get to make more money off of games that are no longer popping, so to speak. But Indiana Jones is not an online game.
No, and it's not been out a year.
It's not been out a year. It's not even going to be out 3 months.
Yeah. No, it is interesting, and I think the debate will continue to rage onwards. And I just think they need to... the easiest thing for them to do, and they never really came out... So they came out with that Xbox Wire podcast that I feel like we need to follow up now. I know, we just need them to say, look, well, just be ultimately clear. Be transparent about it to players.
You know what I need? I need Phil to get up on stage and have a Trump-style debate, and the audience just rapid-fires questions across the room, and he's got to stop all those flying tomatoes coming from all directions. I think we need that. We're at that point now. How are you? Sorry, go on.
Well, I would just like to see a bit of fire behind Xbox again, and just say, look, you know, you're seeing if Sony are doing these under-the-table deals for exclusivity, well, why don't you, shots fire back? If Sony don't want to put any games on Xbox and you're extending an olive branch saying when everyone plays, everyone wins, or whatever he used as the terminology for it. But if Sony are being completely opposite to that, if they're doing certain things to, withhold even classic games, I mean, you could still argue maybe that's the real story around the Capcom thing. Then why aren't they just engaging and just say, look, don't just sit down and take it. Come back with something else. Do something that... If they're going to be like that, then why don't you just be like that as well?
When you're in third place, it's incredibly easy to say, when we all play, we all win. But when your biggest competitor is on its knees, leadership's no longer there, they've got 2 CEOs now divided up by region, they've got this free-to-play microtransaction roadmap for the foreseeable next 2 to 3 years. You got to put that kill shot in. It's we've gone through the 10 years of the Xbox One mishandling. It's time to turn those tables around. You've got studios now. You've clearly opened the checkbook up. Like, what are we? There's nothing that makes sense about this. It's like he wants to maintain a strong third place rather than, you know what, second place looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Step up. Nintendo's got their IPs all locked down to the Switch. Sony have got theirs locked down to the PlayStation. You want to continue being the laughingstock of the gaming industry? It's what competition's about. You don't buy Activision and say, that's it, we can be comfortable being in third place now. No.
Well, just do one or the other, because we'll be endlessly talking about this.
Yeah.
Either do one or the other. Just at this point, either exit the hardware race and be a massive, big publisher, or go the course, stay the course, make hardware, and actually compete. And that should be the lines of competition. If you make hardware, you should be competing. You should be competing if you're making hardware. Yeah. If you're not making hardware, well,
continue
you're
down
just
this
a big
road.
publisher. You'll go down the Sega route, but maybe just have a bit more punch than what Sega is these days. But yes, that's kind of how we're feeling on the Xbox side of things.
Like and subscribe.